All right. Okay. So thank you so much for all the wrap up and all the work in the working groups. Thank you all of you for enduring a day and a half, and for some of you actually 2 days, because on Wednesday, most of the MITOMED partners, you were already working in your own project. Thank you for counting on us to support you in this event. I'm here representing both INRouTe, a network that many of you know as the network that is pushing towards some sort of recommendations and consensus on how to measure tourism at the subnational level, and also as my role as CEO of Into Destination. So some of the things I'm going to say are going to, of course, coincide with the elements they were mentioning. And that is good, I think, because it has been quite a bit flow of, from the first day building up to the second day and going deeper into the different issues. And as some people were saying in the coffee break, there were even more issues, for sure. We could be spending weeks just crying out of everything that is going wrong and we are fighting every day. But let's focus on elements that, yes, are challenges, and also on different things that actually came up as the way forward. So clearly, we are missing governance. In the polls we did on the first day, that was a clear element, even just as a pillar of sustainability. But as the discussions have been going by, governance is needed at many levels. In the sense of governance of measuring, so having that single system of indicators, and that is a governance issue just in measuring. Governance internally in the destinations, so that users and producers, but also the tourism sector, talk to each other within the same department of the DMO, or just, hoteliers with rural houses or other kind of providers and camping agencies and so on that are closer to the market and so on. Joint running initiatives, something that I think we haven't said enough times. MITOMED Plus partners are inviting other destinations to join them. They are making a lot of effort so that the methodology they are developing survives them as a team. The project finishes in January 2020, and they're making a lot of efforts so that the platform and the work they've done doesn't go to a drawer. Rather, people keeps using it. So become one of those destinations that are not yet part of MITOMED Plus, but starts engaging. I'm aware that some destinations have done that step. I just keep inviting you to go forward and join this running initiative. I'm gonna highlight again consensus. What I hear I mean is in many senses. The first one is the international community, experts like myself, like Inma, Anna, and so on, in how to measure tourism. We need to either push institutions that are beyond us, so UN, Eurostat, and so on, and not just as producers, but as heads that can actually talk to other heads of countries and so on, so that a consensus is there. Is there for many economic sectors? Why don't we have it for tourism? I know tourism, we always say, is complex. It's an across sector. It deals with more than 13 industries. Yeah, it's complex, but we are really fed up of hearing that it's complex. So we need to push to achieve a consensus. There's also a problem on our own sector, not knowing how to define basic terms that have been defined for more than a decade. What is a tourist? What is a visitor? Not only the press that doesn't know how to publish about it, they talk about travelers the same that they were talking about tourists, but our own stakeholders in our rural areas have no clue how to distinguish one from the other. And there's a lot to be done there, and research centers, universities, different schools have a lot to say there. And many of you, as members of these European projects, you are in that sector, and there's a lot to be done there. So that when we are talking about users and producers talking to each other, first we need to be able to speak the same language. As our colleague from Girona was saying, Luis, first problem we encounter, how do we define a beach? Different countries perceive it differently. So something that, come on, who was surprised when he said that? Okay, it's just something that happens, and it's not a language barrier, actually. It could even happen within people that are speaking the same language. We need to cooperate. Sometimes when we win a certain project, we focus on what we are supposed to be doing, and it's not the case of MITOMED, as this event reflects in the sense that you've been looking at what other MED projects have been doing and the horizontal project as well. But probably you know of initiatives that are going forward that are not actually linking themselves with others. We should avoid that. Also, within destinations, we need to cooperate. The same as we are supposed to be speaking the same language, we need to cooperate as it was emerging in the different working groups. If we don't have a clear goal, aim for what the tourism sustainable strategy is, how can we have a name for measuring sustainability and to communicating the results of that measuring? We need to listen. We talk a lot, but we need to listen. And we producers of data, we need to listen users. Users need to be open to listen to producers as well. Usually they don't like because we speak weird. Let's be honest, we speak weird. And it's very connected to this, and Apollonia mentioned it many times on Wednesday. We need to gain trust. We need to trust users because sometimes we are not so sure if they're reliable in what they are saying, on their perceptions and so on. And they need to gain trust from us. We need to be someone we relate to so that they actually open up, because they are also holders of a lot of data and a lot of knowledge and a lot of challenges that perhaps we are not aware of, and we have data to solve, or at least bring light to, okay? So it's not just listening, but it's investing in gaining trust. We need to communicate. We many times forget. Mostly if you're a public worker, you work in an institution that produces data, has been for like 30 years, and you just have the automatic system where these Excel files comes into the website every month for data that is 1 month or 2 months old, and that's it. And if they ask you if the data is public, yeah, sure, it's there, it's in the website, but who's reading that? And how can they interpret that? So most of the time we blame users, but we are not doing enough to communicate. When we approach measuring, something that I think it was very relevant about one of the sessions yesterday is all the rigor that is behind everything we measure. Because all the time we're talking about comparability. If we do not follow the same methodology, and a methodology that is approved, again, by a consensus that we are lacking for the subnational level, we risk not being serious about what we say, and the criticism, and again, losing trust, it would become just after. So we need to include the social perspective. This has been something that has been repeated in many sessions. Developing tourism for the sake of residents' well-being in the broader understanding of that, so economic but also social and cultural values and so on, with rigor, seeking homogeneity, with a clear geographical scale, something that is also a challenge because some of the move forward at the UN, for instance, is mostly national, and what we are all in this room is requesting is more focus at the subnational level, and that going out to that geographical scale or that bottom-up approach needs to somewhat work so that it is actually comparable. Based on progress made, again, joining running initiatives that are there, being aware of the maturity level of the destination, it was one of the key elements that was as part of the debate of different destinations and their strategies. It's not the same talking, as I think Damian mentioned it, it's not the same, the rhythm perhaps of a rural area in the province of Barcelona as compared to the city of Barcelona. The same for many other destinations. The approach and perhaps the aims they have for measuring sustainability are completely different. Using all available data, thanks to official statistics and administrative records, whether they are in the hands of public institutions or private entities, we need to fight to get that data in a sustainable manner in the terms of over time. So not just like, okay, I like you, so now yes, I give you the data. Then you go to another job and they never give data anymore. Decision makers make decisions based on data. Otherwise, all the work we do in producing data goes to waste. And it's pretty boring. We spend most of our lives actually working. So it should be going to good use. And listen to your team producing data no matter the optics. I think this was something that both in the questions in Slido and also in the sessions was repeated quite a lot. This is critical because this is the whole thing we're talking about. If nobody uses what we are producing, it goes to waste. Invest in presenting data in a user-friendly way is the point I was making with communication, but beyond, meaning perhaps we have to use social networks to actually communicate that our bulletin is out in a way that, you know, as Xavier was saying, it relates to people's lives. So when we say there, I don't know how many million, I think it's 12 million people working for the tourism sector in Europe. This is a figure that unless you have that amount of money in your bank account, you don't know what that means. You have no clue what 12 million mean. Relate that to families in your neighborhood. A percentage, I don't know, 1 out of 10, as the UNRouTe says, is actually working in tourism. That's something you can understand. Monitor usage. Let's imagine you do a lot of work so that you're communicating better, but try to monitor if that is the case. If there's just, you know, certain periods, perhaps the media goes for before Easter, before summer and after summer, and that's it, or if it is something that is getting more and more use, for what kind of use, what can you improve so that we continue innovating and upgrading. And think out of the box. Apollonia made that comment quite clear, and in many discussions this was actually thought as well, because you're talking to others that think in a different way, so perhaps you have to think out of the box to address that. So I think we're going in the right direction, so I don't want to sound negative, okay? I'm an optimistic person, so let's keep working. We're doing it good, I think. And thank you so much. It has been a pleasure. Thank you.